Yeah. Okay. We're up and running with our technology. And here we are. We're going to once again have a look at Mark chapter 3. This time a long section from verse 7 all the way down to verse 19. And it's interesting because what it does is introduce us to several groups, and none of them are the ones, well, they all want to be near Jesus. Jesus does not necessarily want to be with those people. And so what we want to look at today is, who are the people that Jesus would choose as his friends? And out of that we might learn some lessons too about how we choose wisely for the people that we associate with, and how we relate to people that we perhaps need to keep at arm's length. Choosing good friends. Now, the people that you want to choose to be your friends are the people that you want to be with. They're people who are good for you. They're people who enrich your soul, people who bless you, people who give you that something that you can't quite define, and they give to you more than they take away from you. Everyone's nuts, but if we're going to have them around, we might as well choose some tasty nuts to have as our friends. It's been said, you can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends. And so in this scripture, what we're doing is looking at three groups that Jesus does not choose before finally coming to the group that he does choose. So here's the first group. The people that Jesus chooses are going to be people who are good listeners. And this we see in the opening couple of verses, Mark 3 verses 7 and 8. That says, Jesus withdrew with his disciples to the lake, and a large crowd from Galilee followed. Why did they follow? When they heard all that he was doing. Many people came from far and wide. What did they hear? They heard all that Jesus was doing. And if you're going to choose friends, you'll want people who really do hear you. But there's always a but. But these people looked no deeper than Jesus' actions. What did they hear? They heard all that Jesus was doing. They didn't hear what Jesus was saying. They didn't hear his preaching. They didn't hear his parables. They didn't hear his teaching. They just heard spectacular things are happening. And so they weren't actually listening below the surface. They weren't listening to Jesus' heart. Who were they? Oh, they were interested, they were fascinated, they were curious, and they wanted to come for the show. They heard what Jesus was doing. Oh, this is going to be fabulous. Let's go and see this. Maybe we're going to see something really amazing. I wonder if you've ever been involved with people and it feels like they're just hard work. You've got to amuse them all the time. You've got to do something. Well, they're just there sitting and you feel like you've got to provide for them. Or maybe you've been in a ministry and you feel, why am I doing this? All I'm doing is just amusing these people. I'm just entertaining these people. What's coming as a result of this? They're the sort of people who've been around for a very long while. If we look at a couple of other verses, just by way of comparison, this again is very early in Jesus' ministry. Here we are, we're only in John chapter 2, so we're not far away from Mark chapter 3. Now, when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover festival, many people saw the signs that he was performing. You get this? It's still the external stuff. It's the action, the happening stuff. And they believed in him. Well, now that's getting exciting, isn't it? Because not only do they see what's happening, but they believe in Jesus. Wow, this is fabulous. Miracles are happening. So how does Jesus respond? suddenly we hit a big but. Yes, they believed in Jesus, but what sort of belief did they have? But Jesus would not entrust himself to them because he knew all people. What sort of belief was it? It was obviously shallow. Here we are in Jerusalem. 3 years later, it's going to be the same crowd that are crying out. And what are they going to be screaming? Crucify him. A belief that doesn't go into a transformation of life. So Jesus didn't entrust himself to them. We need to be gracious but careful in the way that we treat people. And as people start coming into our church, they're going to come perhaps as non-believers first. Perhaps saying, oh yes, I believe, but it'll begin at the shallow end of the pool. And we need to be drawing people not just for the show, although we can put on a great show, obviously, but it's not about us. We're drawing them to Jesus and the transformation he's going to make in their lives. Or another verse we haven't got here yet, Mark chapter 6, verse 11. He says to his followers, if any place won't welcome you, or, most importantly, if they won't listen to you, then leave that place and shake the dust off your feet as a testimony against them. There's nothing more important than listening, because listening is what gets deeper inside us. And you don't want to have friends that don't listen to you. Listening is the key to relationship. So the people in this first couple of verses, they're non-contributors. They're the deadwood. Yeah, in fact, they're lazy. They're turning up, but they're not going to do anything. The trouble is, they look so faithful. They were there. Jesus was there. They were there. They look faithful just because they turned up. I wonder if you know or have known people who just turn up on Sunday, but you think to yourself, where's the spiritual life? It's just their body is sitting there only. The good news is they're mostly harmless, and that's because they live as spectators. They're not engaged, and they usually turn up in crowds, and they just sit on the sidelines. Oh, we're here to support. We're here to encourage. We're not here to actually do any work. We're not going to be faithful. We're just going to watch. You poured yourself into a family member, poured yourself into a ministry. You've given it time and energy and money and effort. And I think, isn't anyone going to help? The answer is probably no, no one will. Particularly if you're reaching out to these sorts of people. We need to draw people to make a commitment. Remember our ABC of salvation? A, admit. B, believes. C, commitment. Yes, these people admitted that Jesus was interesting. They believed in him, but they didn't go to the commitment. So what do these spectators really need? They need to hear from you. They need to hear you saying, yes, I can be your friend if you are going to be a friend to me. Now, you can't demand that people be friends, but you can say, friendship is a two-way street. I can be your friend if you will do the things that friends need, that I need. And so they need to develop something deeper than just the spectator mentality. They need to develop their soul. They need to become productive. They're the people that need to get off their backsides and meet you halfway if you're going to be genuine friends. The scripture that they need to hear is a lovely verse from Jeremiah, where God says, you will find me, but only when you seek me with all your heart. There's got to be a whole heart commitment of seeking out Jesus, and then you will find what they're really looking for, and it's not just amusement that they're looking for. There's always a deeper need. The hymn that they do need to sing is one that, in fact, we all need to sing all the time. All to Jesus I surrender. All to him I freely give. All to thee, my blessed Saviour. It's got to be all. Jesus doesn't settle for a bit of us. He wants all of us so that he can transform all of us. Now, I hope you're not in that little group that we've just been talking about, but if you are, now, we all go through times when we just have to pull back. We're burnt out, we're crashed, we've worn out, and we do need to be the spectators. And we do need to hear people sing to us the song that we've just been singing. Brother, sister, let me serve you. As good Christians, of course, we don't let anyone serve us. We've got to be diligent and serve everybody all the time, haven't we? Even if it kills us. But no, sometimes we need to let other people bless us. There comes times when we need to allow people the grace to minister to us and our needs. And so what we need to do is be good listeners, and we practice listening at home. Now, ladies, have you ever said about your man, do I have to tell him the same thing every day of his life? There's a lot of laughter from the front row, but I'm glad to see it's not only the front row. The answer is yes, you do. You do have to tell him the same thing every day of his life, because part of the problem of sin is that men have got more problems than women. Yeah. You've known that all along, haven't you? And part of the problem is that our hard wiring for listening, it is completely frayed and frazzled and hardly connects at all. And so, if you're a man, that actually means you've got more work to do, guys. We have got a great responsibility. We need to practice harder at listening. The ladies are good listeners. Some would even suggest they're good at other stuff as well. I'll stop digging that hole. But we need to listen. And practice listening at home is where it starts, because that's where it's going to have the most initial benefit. And a great way to practice that is to practice listening to God. Now, very often I find it a useful thing is I'll just sit down in my lounge room and I'll sit on one seat and I'll invite Jesus to come and sit alongside me. And open the scripture and talk to him like he's actually sitting there. Hey, Lord, I've got this problem and I need to hear what you've got to say to me about how I do the next step. And generally, I don't hear voices, but as the scriptures are open, he might say something to me. Or just a walk outside. Lord, I can see you've been here. I can see your fingerprints over everything. I need your fingerprints on my heart, on my choices. It's where we need to practice listening. We're very good at telling God what to do. The culture of prayer that we're developing will be not just talking to God, it will be developing the conversation of listening to him as well. The second group that arrive on the scene are in Mark chapter 3, verses 9 and 10. And from this group we learn that the people Jesus chooses are generous contributors. And this really does flow on from the previous group. Thousands of people had crowded around Jesus, and it was hard to go anywhere without crowds and crowds of people. Because of the crowd, he told his disciples to have a small boat ready for him, to keep the people from crowding him. For he'd healed so many, so that those with diseases were pushing forward to touch him. He was like a celebrity. People just wanted to pat him on the back, to shake his hand, to be able to say, "Oh, I was in the crowd with Jesus. I watched Jesus perform this miracle." Yeah. Have you ever had people who crowd into your personal space? People who think that they're your friend. Oh, look, we're such good friends, and they look like friends because they hang around you all the time. Sadly, their hands are only open to embrace you so that you can give them things. It might be just time, but maybe they're looking for other things as well. These people are consumers rather than generous contributors. And they're needy people, but to be fair, we're all needy people. They come to Jesus, and sometimes these people come to you for what they can get rather than what they can give. It's always, yeah, I'll come to church, not to worship, not to give praise, not to give money, not to contribute to ministry. I will come to your church if there's something in it for me, if I get anything out of it. This would never have happened to you, but have you ever heard people leave church saying, "Well, I didn't get anything out of that today"? You didn't come here to get anything. You came here to give. That's what worship is. Worship is giving. It's opening our heart to pour out praise, to give up thanks, to be generous with our money, our time, our love to one another. We are only here to give, and you know what? You only get in proportion to what you give in the first place. If you're not getting anything out of church, try giving and see what happens then. But why did you come to Christ? Wasn't it because you were needy? Wasn't it because you were looking for something? Confession being good for the soul. That's why I came to Christ. I didn't come to Christ because I loved him. I didn't come because I thought he was a great creator. I came to Christ because I knew I was going to burn in hell, and I didn't want that. I came for what was in it for me. I was getting out of hell and into heaven. That was purely selfish. But that's what salvation is. We can't do anything for ourselves. It's where we only receive. The real test is, having come to Christ, then what happens? Are you still on the receiving end? You still give me, give me, give me? That's time for some maturity to start kicking in now. For we need to, having come to Christ, to then grow in Christ and discover it's not just about what we can get, but as we give, then we'll get more, and he'll take us to a much better place. But these people who are crowding out, if you allow people to make more withdrawals than deposits in your life, then what's going to happen to you? You will end up out of balance. You'll end up in the negative. People like that are not good for you. For your own safety, certainly your emotional safety, possibly your physical safety, for your financial safety, know when to close that account. There are some people who are not good for you. Now, one of the reasons why we have church and it's people together is so that when a needy person comes in, as they will, It's not just one person carrying the load. It's where we can say, I've had enough, I can't do this anymore. Can someone else help this person? And there are other people who can step up and take the person along the next step of the journey. If all they're doing is drawing out, then we need to do some very serious stop, you can't do this anymore. But if they're needy and growing to become less needy, then we're the team that they need, that is God at work to help them along that journey. Needy people do have genuine needs, and they also create needs too, I'm sure you've found. They have genuine needs, usually multiple needs, complex needs, and it's just difficult to unfathom them. Needy people are enthusiastic, but they don't contribute much. And this is important, you can never satisfy their needs. Needy people come to you, but you can't fix them. You can't solve their problem. You can't resolve their issues. The problem is they are dependent. And no matter how much you give them, it doesn't touch the deeper need. And so we need to be people who are dealing with the genuine needs. Have you ever heard someone say, if you were a real Christian, you would do so and so. And generally it revolves around, you would give me money, or you would give me time, or you would take me to somewhere. It's just pure manipulation, and it's bad for them, and it's bad for you to give in to them. What do needy people actually need then? They need to admit, here we are again, we're still back with ABC. They need to first of all admit, I'm part of the problem and I am part of the solution. A, admit I'm part of the problem. B, believe I'm part of the solution. And C, the solution is what Christ is going to do, as we'll go on and see. What you can say to needy people, and it's a healthy, helpful thing to say, is, no, I'm not going to help you. And watch them spit and moan and whinge and come to you because you're supposed to help me. Good Christians are supposed to help, aren't they? The best thing you can say to them is, I am going to help you, and I'm going to do it by not helping you. You're going to do it all yourself, but I'll go with you. I'll encourage you from the sidelines. I'll advocate for you. I will support you in what you are doing. But you are going to be your own best friend, and I will help you as you do it all. That's why the verse they need to hear is this lovely and very practical verse from Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens who? Who strengthens me. God doesn't want us to be needy, dependent people, codependent people. He wants us to discover all that we can be and can do as He works out His life in us and through us. He's got something good that He wants to do. And so the song that I need to sing is, now let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich. How and why? Through what the Lord has done for me. Every one of us can be indwelled by the Holy Spirit, gifted, equipped, supported. Each of us can be surrounded by good people who are beneficial to us, who will say, no, I'm not going to help you. I'll just give you a kick up the backside because that's the best thing you need at the moment. And we need to hear the scriptures of what God has done for us, as well as remind ourselves in song of what that is. Then the third group reminds us that the people that Jesus chooses are humble seekers. And here we are again. We're just picking up in the next couple of verses, in verses 11 and 12. He wants to be with people who humbly look for what God is doing. And all of these three are the very opposites of those, because he's not trusting or giving himself to any of them. Those verses say, whenever evil spirits saw him, they fell down before him and cried out, "You are the Son of God!" But he gave them strict orders not to tell who he was, even though it was completely true. He said, no, don't do that. Don't say that. Just a quick review. Where did these evil spirits come from? Evil spirits, demons. Once upon a time, they were angels. That's how they were created. Angels were created on the very first day of creation. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. In the beginning, God created what? The heavens and the earth. Now the heavens is not the sky. It came later. It's not the stars and the planets. It's not the physical heavens universe. They were all created several days later. What's created is God's throne room. It's the angels that surrounded him. When the first thing that was created was heaven itself. And so the angels witnessed all the rest of creation unfold. They saw constellations be thrown into space. They saw the earth being formed. It says in the end of Job that they all sang together the praises of Jesus as he created. And so evil spirits, they know who Jesus is. And that's why they said in this verse, they fell down before him and cried out, "You are the Son of God." They have seen history in action from day one. They knew it all to be true. But there came a time, probably still in week 1 of creation, when there was war in heaven. Lucifer, what we might call the Prime Minister of heaven, became Satan. And a third of the angels became demons and followed him. I like those odds. If ever you feel that chances are you'll never meet a demon. But if it came about that an evil spirit came against you, it's outnumbered 2 to 1. You've got 2 strong angels on your side. 1 against, 2 for. Not only have you got angels outnumbering the demons, you've got the indwelling Holy Spirit with all of his gifts and equipping. Not only that, you've got Jesus in heaven interceding on your behalf. Not only that, you've got God the Father, whose plan is that you are more than conqueror over anyone who comes against you. They have no hope of standing against us. And they know full well, and we know as well, their end is the lake of fire, prepared for the devil and his evil angels. You know the little saying, if Satan reminds me of my past, I just remind him of his future. And whether they are evil spirits or the people that you meet, they know about godliness, they can see it, but they are not living it. So the people that Jesus does not choose are the flashy ones. The evil spirits were very showy in what they did to people. They know about God. They know all about God. They knew the facts about God more than you or I ever will know, because they've seen so much of him. They've been in heaven. But for all that, they don't know him. It's not coming out of the heart. They know the Bible. The evil spirits know the Bible better than I ever will. But they don't know how to apply it and the impact that it has to transform lives. And whether they be spirits or whether they be people, their heads are full, but their hearts are empty. Someone once said, "Two things are infinite: the universe and human stupidity." But I'm not so sure about the universe. The people that we have to deal with. The people that Jesus doesn't choose, they have a problem because they are a problem. They're selfish. It's all about them. They're looking for acknowledgement. And if you're dealing with these smarty pants people, don't try having an argument with them, because you cannot win. They are convinced that black is white. If it means having an argument, don't bother going there. So what does Jesus tell them to do? Zip it. He commanded them to silence. What they were saying was true, but he didn't allow them to speak. And because of where it was coming from, that was all publicity is not good publicity, because it was the evil spirits who were promoting Jesus. Now, if you ever meet someone in this group, the greatest need that you have, if you know everything, can do everything, your greatest need is humility. You need to hear the words of Jesus saying, "Without me, you can do nothing." John the Baptist had the right idea when he said that Jesus must increase, whereas I must decrease. And if you're in the group, stop telling other people what to do. I know it's hard. Instead of that, start applying what you know to yourself. I love the song, and I know I need to sing it all too often. Lord, teach me to have a humble heart, to be like him. Those of us who think we know it all, we're the ones who still have the most to learn. And someone said, stay humble enough to know that you're not better than anybody else. But also stay wise enough to know you're different from everybody else. You're going to meet a lot of different people when you walk out the door. And that's why we come to this final group. The people that Jesus does choose. They're very diverse, and they're also completely inadequate in so many ways. And here we are picking up it's the second half of the section from verse 13 all the way down to verse 19. Jesus went up on a mountain, and having met all of those other groups of people, he called to him those he wanted. The other people weren't the people that he wanted, but there is a group that Jesus wants to have as his friends. And these are the 12 he appointed. Simon, whose name he changed to Peter. He changed his name to Peter because there was already another Simon in the group. There was also James and John, who were brothers. Andrew was Simon Peter's brother. There was Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, whose name was also Levi. It's beginning to look like there's a whole lot of them, but it's still only 12 because they're changing names all the time. Thomas, who's not a bad guy but gets a lot of bad press. Yet another James, this time James the son of Alphaeus as opposed to James the son of Zebedee. There's the second Simon, there's a zealot. So there's Thaddeus. Why did he call himself Thaddeus? Why would you want to be called Judas? Now there's someone who has got bad press, and probably justifiably so. And there was, of course, the Judas who betrayed him. That's the original 12. So who are these people that Jesus is choosing as his friends? And how can I be part of that group? Not part of the original 12, of course, but how can I be the person that Jesus would choose as the one he wants to be with, and the one through whom he wants to work and to make a positive difference. The people are very different from one another. They're quite diverse in the skills they had, in the personalities they had. They're all very different. They were unskilled and they were inadequate. But Jesus was going to change that because he was calling them to spend some time with him and to do 3.5 years of on-the-job training, because he saw in them potential for growth. We've all got potential. Whether we actually grow or not into that potential is something else again. The person that Jesus wants is someone who's willing to do that growing, to change, to understand more of what it is to achieve maturity. They were the people who could balance out the giving and the receiving. And they were going to spend these 3 years doing both. Many of them, probably all of them, but not all recorded, fail, and fail badly. But they don't let the fall on their face, keep them down. They were people who were willing to get up, to find confession, repentance, and recovery was really possible. They were a team. They needed to be able to share and cooperate. They were the people who went out and made a positive difference. Baby steps at first, but bigger ones later. They were, in fact, the people that Jesus would happily call as his friends. So where did they go to find Jesus, as opposed to where everyone else was going to find Jesus? I think this very simple little illustration actually says quite a lot about where Jesus is to be found and who will go to him to become his friend. These other groups wanted to put Jesus way up on the pinnacle. They wanted to then go up, and yes, let's be up there with Jesus. But he has stepped down from heaven to earth. He steps down from glory to an animal feed trough in Bethlehem. He steps down from power and might and majesty to the cross of Calvary. He'll always be found in a humble place. So why does Jesus want me? Why does Jesus want you? What does Jesus want to do in your life? He went up on a mountainside and he called those he wanted. And those he wanted, he had a plan for. And it's 3 steps. He called them so that first and foremost, they would be with him. That is the first thing that Jesus wants you to do. That's the primary thing that Jesus wants you to do. It's the most important thing he wants you to do. He doesn't want you to go out and run a ministry. He doesn't want you to stand on a street corner on a soapbox and proclaim good news. The first thing he wants for you is just to sit at his feet. Just to learn who he is. The others weren't listening. He wants you to listen to what he's got to say. He wants you to listen to the heartbeat that's important to him, to know him. You can't do anything else until you've done this first. After being with him, he begins to send them out in little snippets to go out and tell others. Here's some good news. And that's pretty scary if you start at step 2. You should go out and proclaim the gospel. You should go out and evangelize. Here are the steps that take you to evangelize. That's going to be a pain in the backside for you and ineffective unless you've done step 1 first. At step 1, then do step 2. And then have authority. Not our authority. Remember the Great Commission? All authority in heaven and earth is given to me, says Jesus. And he hasn't delegated that to anyone else, or hasn't given it to anyone else. We're using his authority. It is a delegated authority, not an innate authority within us. And don't even try tackling those who are smarter and stronger than you, because you will fail, and you'll fail dangerously and badly. It all begins back here. Come back here and let Jesus deal with them. The authority we have is his authority, whether it's authority to tell people good news or authority in the spiritual realm to cast out evil. Why does Jesus want you? So that you can be with him and listen to him, so that you can then pass on to others what you've learned about him. And that's all witnessing is. I learned something in my Bible reading today. I heard something quite interesting in church today. That's how we go out and preach. It's telling the story of what happened when Jesus and I sat together. And when you've got good news to tell people, then you can go on and deal with the real spiritual warfare that happens at the coalface. But a warning. Just because you're a person that Jesus chooses to be his friend, and just because you're friendly to everyone else, doesn't mean that everyone else is going to want to be your friend. You can be the friendliest person on the planet, but it doesn't mean everyone's going to like you. Don't have unrealistic expectations. It might not happen. The world's a very dysfunctional place. We're to be friends with Jesus, first of all. You've seen a tapestry from the back. Many people are woven in and out of the fabric of our lives, in the tapestry of our lives. It looks a bit messy from the back with those who are woven in and out. Some people are the light, bright colours. They're the sunshine in our tapestry. Some people, sadly, are the dark and shadowy places of our lives. You know the name Corrie ten Boom. Had a very simple little poem. My life is but a weaving between my Lord and me. I cannot choose the colours he worketh steadily. Oft times he weaveth sorrow, and I in foolish pride forget he sees the upper, and I the underside. Not till the loom is silent and the shuttles cease to fly, shall God unroll the canvas and explain the reason why. The dark threads are as needful as in the weaver's skillful hand as the threads of gold and silver in the pattern he has planned. He knows, he loves, he cares, nothing this truth can dim. He gives his very best to those who leave the choice with him. Let's pray. Father, many people are woven in and out of the fabric of our lives. People have come and they have blessed us, and we thank you for them. Some people have come and they've been a total pain in the backside, and we've just wept or grieved or been frustrated and not known what to do. But in all things, the people that you have woven into our lives have been your blessing. Oh Lord, help us to trust that the upper side of the tapestry is looking more beautiful, even though we can't yet see it. Help us to accept the dark threads, the dark people, to know when to cut them off so that we can move into the better colours, the brighter colours. But above all else, oh, thank you for choosing us. Thank you for choosing me to be your friend. Oh, may I sit with you, to just sit with you and listen, to sit with you and be refreshed, to sit with you and find your comfort and your peace. And for those people that I can't control, Lord, you're weaving a tapestry for them as well. They're your weaving, and you will do what's best for them. Help me to take my hands off your loom, off their lives, and let you do the things that you want to do. Bless the work of my heart, of my hands, of my mind, so that I will be your friend and stop driving other people nuts. And this I ask in Jesus' name. Amen.